the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party's term in office. And we also have on at 9 o'clock, we have a guest from the acting permanent secretary of sustainable development. And then we have pastor. We have a pastor who will be here and speaking about, healthy relationships, all in the theme of love. So this is a very packed morning, and of course, I will go straight into the conversation that we're supposed to have. The first conversation is about the 6 months of the Labour administration having taken office. Of course, with me in studio this morning is Craig Tuckett. Craig, could you introduce yourself, please?
Well, first, let me say good morning to you, Azard, and congratulations on your new role as a journalist in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And also to the good listeners that are listening near and wide right here on WINNFM Radio. My name is Craig Tuckett, and I am the Communications Director for the People's Labour Party and formerly the Deputy Chairman of the party.
Yes. Okay, Craig, I'm going to call in Peter Wickham so he could weigh in on the discussion as well.
Oh, Peter going to be here?
Yes,
My
Peter.
goodness. From all the way Barbados?
Yes.
The pollster.
Yes. We have also too, in studio, we have Lincoln David Pell. We have Lincoln David Pell in studio. Lincoln, could you introduce yourself to us and the audience, the viewing and listening audience?
Good morning to everyone. Peace be to you. And I wish you God's blessings. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, and here and David, what organization are you representing this morning?
Well, I'm representing the great party of the People's Action Movement in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, who have done great for our country over the years.
Okay, and I have on the phone Peter Wickham. Peter, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. It's good to be with you, gentlemen. The name is Peter Wickham. Hopefully, reasonably well known to Caribbean politics and the politics of St. Kitts and Nevis. I'm political consultant and director of Caribbean Development Research Services. We have been involved in reading the political temperature in St. Kitts and Nevis for quite some years. Happy to be with you guys.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Just to give a rundown, the Labour administration would have given in their manifesto during the election campaign a number of things. They categorized it in terms of, and I'm reading from their manifesto. It says, just to lay the foundation for the discussion this morning, drawing from the lessons of COVID-19, Labour will introduce a COVID-19 reset package that would ensure the rights of workers are protected and that the unemployed and students are provided with assistance to allow them to survive and thrive.
Still waiting.
In the first 6 months in office, a new Labour administration will, and this is looking at workers' rights and protection, provide a gratuitous payment to all workers who are dismissed for not taking a COVID-19 vaccine. Raise the national minimum wage to EC $500 weekly. Introduce an industrial court and enhance workplace health and safety protections. Extend for another 6 months the COVID relief income support in the amount of EC $1,500 per month for unemployed persons. And the income support mechanisms will then be replaced by a permanent unemployment insurance facility in the amount of EC $750. They go down to students. Reduce student loan interest at a rate from 9% to 5% at the Development Bank. Provide debt relief to relieve the burden of student loans on the new Youth Rising Higher program. Cost of living. Stimulate the construction sector by offering all citizens of the Federation the following entitlement for new construction or renovation projects up to EC $500,000. And it mentions VAT-free on all materials and furnishing, duty-free on all materials and furnishing, zero down payment for mortgage offered by indigenous financial institutions, reduce the VAT from 17 to 13%, eliminate VAT on all taxes, extend the full discounted VAT 2 days packages, not just Christmas, but 3 days per year, Easter, summer, Christmas, implement a $1,000 credit for electricity consumption by all households. For vehicle purchases, VAT will be exempted on the first, EC 50,000 with VAT at the standard 13% charge thereafter. Barrels, e-containers, or decontainers or foodstuffs up to 400 pounds in weight will be allowed duty-free and taxes, and travelers and non-commercial importers will receive a duty-free allowance of EC $540 off the cost, insurance, freight, and value of goods. The last thing here under the stimulus plan for the small business, reduce payroll taxes for small and medium-sized businesses of up to 20 employees. Implement a start from zero package to stimulate our small business to stimulate our small businesses that will include duty-free vehicle for all small business startups, duty-free on all equipment and furniture for all startups within the first year until business is fully operationalized. Establish a ministry of small business to give small businesses a voice and equip them with the tools necessary to serve and thrive in a competitive environment. Reduction of unincorporated small business tax by increasing the tax exemption threshold from $6,000 to $12,000 for all service providers and $37,500 to $50,000 for all retailers. Make automatic all registered and producing farms and fishermen a duty-free concession on seeds, agriculture imports, vehicles, boats, insecticides, pesticides, tools, and agricultural implements. So those are some of the promises that they would have made to the electorate during the last election of August 5th, 2022, saying that in the first 6 months, the Labour administration would have those implemented. I'm looking at a page on their manifesto which speaks to the COVID reset. So, gentlemen, any words on anything that you want to speak as it relates to what some of the promises would have been, and also what the first 6 months has entailed? I will let Craig, then Lincoln, and then Peter speak.
Not Craig.
Craig.
That's
yes.
it. That's melt in your mouth.
I'm going to say Mr. Tuckett.
No, Craig. Craig, not Craig.
Yes.
But again, it's important to note that when one, as a political party, is endeavoring to develop a manifesto, they have a philosophy, policies, and programs that they envisage to implement over their administrative term, which is sometimes 5 years, sometimes shorter. And so I would recognize that in their manifesto, they have a lot of visionary ideas, some of which are already implemented by the Team Unity led by our former Prime Minister and political leader of the People's Labour Party, Dr. the Honourable Timothy Harris. But I would like to identify more so about the concrete things that they would have said and promised to engage and to entice the voters of St. Kitts to put their X next to the hand. And so I would like to identify the three things that I recognize that they have promised concretely. One, they said that they would move the PAP, which is the Poverty Alleviation Program, from 500 to 1,000. And I might even say it is 1,500, they said. 1,500. But we're not seeing that. What we're seeing actually is that the sustaining of the same 500, which then in the past would have been a help to the most needed and the most needy and the most challenged and the most persons who are, I suppose, single mothers and those who are even single parent men who are indeed doing a good job with their children. But now in this day and age where you have an increase in the standard of living globally, that 500 is not going to do it. So really and truly, if they are really a party of the people trying to do the most for the most good for the most people, they should hold to that promise. But again, that is one of the things that we've acknowledged, that as it was in the previous time when they were in power for 20 years, now we are seeing that the promises that were made promises not delivered.
Okay, like my good friend said here, but also would like to remind person that our political leader, the Honorable Sean Kevish, would have addressed some of these matters that we are about to talk about and that confronting us. One of the things he mentioned about is crime. And looking at the content of what, and he said a great deal about crime, which could show certain trends. And if persons could remember, they mentioned in the manifesto as well about fighting crime. But I believe, and I know, that in PAM's manifesto, they had that about fighting crime. And I know our party, over the years, have been doing a good job and even also calling for more when it comes to crime fighting. I also want to take this opportunity on behalf of the PAM party to call on our citizens to be peaceful, resolve those crime, those tendencies of getting violent in a peaceful manner, because we are seeing where a serious trend, it could be a deadly trend to our economy, is start happening again, and these are serious ones. And I know over the years, when we come to economic, the PAM party, the People's Action Movement, is a part of economic development for our country, and therefore we like to touch on the matter that they spoke of what they were going to do, which is the reduce of VAT from 17 to 13. The VAT was introduced under that administration as well. Under the team unity, where PAM was a big party, they would mention they would do certain things with it. They reduced the VAT in certain areas, which is good. And the PAM party, part of their philosophy would have actually tried to get that done. But when the next election comes, and PAM is form the government, we will take care of all these matters. So this is just the opening statement for what we're going to discuss, because we do not have much time. So I just want to remind persons that through it all, over the years and present, PAM party, if we look at the PAM manifesto, you would realize the economic development that we have and all these matters to address. Unfortunately, we do not have much time. So I will give my other partner a chance to shine his light, but to remind persons that under this administration, present administration, be good as it may, as our Prime Minister was trying to do, there are still a lot of promises haven't been kept. And we want to know, the PAM party want to know, because my constituents and a lot of persons in St. Kitts and Nevis want to know, why is this? I hope we will get an answer. Why all these promises? Why the VAT haven't been reduced as yet? Why, say for example, the PAP and all these things that they talk about that we're going to do, increase the team unity when it comes to fight crime in, what they put in place to get that sorted out. PAM was a big influence in that, and you realize what has happened since then. So from the PAM party, we have the know-how to get our country going and make our people prosperous.
Okay, thank you, David David Pell, from the People's Action Movement. Peter Wickham?
Hey, the review by the gentleman was interesting. I actually didn't realize that the Labour government has set themselves those kind of fairly high targets. To be frank, in the lead up to the election, I think that we were paying less attention to what the Labour administration was planning to do, and more attention to the breakup of the Team Unity platform. And I think that would probably have distracted the vast majority of people in St. Kitts and Nevis. But now that you mentioned the objectives that they set, they're fairly ambitious, and I think that we can agree that a lot of them were not achieved. A 6 months deadline is, in my opinion, unrealistic, and I'm not quite sure why they would have set themselves that type of task, because the reality is that when they took over the government, the COVID reality had, for all intents and purposes, been dealt with, and I think that the country was on a relatively even keel. The issues were really political, in terms of the management of the stability of the Team Unity administration. But economically, I think that we can agree that there was not a whole lot that was going on that was wrong, that needed to be addressed, that required the kind of stimulus that they spoke about. And I think the fact that they haven't done it, and the fact that St. Kitts is still running, suggests that, as I think it was Craig that said it, they're pretty much right that the status quo economically appears to be working well. It seems to have been retained, and it suggests that they can get away with not having fulfilled any promises in the short term. Now, I'm not sure what will be their excuse to say that they haven't done a lot of these things, but the reality is that there's no pressure on them, because I think the expectation of people would have been that they deliver a stable government, a government that doesn't have, ministers quarreling among themselves or whatnot. And for all intents and purposes, that is exactly what they have done. And I tend to think that the shortcomings in terms of the performance appraisal will be achieved for the time being. Bear in mind, the Labour administrations have remained in office largely because they've been stable, and they have a core of supporters that will come out and support them on most occasions. And I think that that's what they have achieved for the most part. My sense is that the attention now is more on the opposition. I listened to Lincoln speaking about the fact that they expect the People's Action Movement to be returned to office in the near future. I have my doubts, and I think that for a lot of people, that's really the bigger question that has to be answered, and less so about what the Dr. Drew administration has been able to achieve or not achieve in the short term.
I would like to just make a quick response, and I must say that in regards to three things that have just been raised, we must never forget that the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, Next Gen, prompted the people by saying, we are ready to govern. We are ready to govern. And we are the party that will bring the level of investment and governance that will bring St. Kitts and Nevis to better times. Now we are 6 months in, and all of a sudden we've seen a spike in murders that we have never had before under the former Prime Minister, Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris's led administration. And again, it is important to note that even if we were to give them another 6 months, we would have hoped that by now, especially where we are seeing a downturn, and I'm very happy you mentioned, Peter, that it was under our administration, led by our political leader of the People's Labour Party, Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris, that we saw the resurgence of the economy. But now we see that the rising standard of living, the cost of living, and we will expect at least the PAP, as they promised, would have been given a top-up, as our Prime Minister then was offering to the good people of St. Kitts and Nevis. But people might say we didn't vote for that, but it is what it is.
Now, I would like to say that, remember, the team unity was most membership was from the People's Action Movement, and the People's Action Movement is more economic driven to give people that opportunity to get their wealth. Now, the reason why I mentioned that coming from Mr. Tuckett and from Mr. Wickham is that even in the manifesto here, from what you just read, Azard, they spoke about helping small businesses during their campaign as well. But that hasn't been done as yet. So it was just like a political promise that hasn't come true as yet. Okay? So
Hasn't come true.
Hasn't come true. Well, I'm saying yet because you see, it is our government, facts. And therefore, anything done or said should be done for the benefit of our country. I believe all of us want the best for our country, but I know the People's Action Movement is the best party to govern this country, to take us economically forward. Even under the crime initiative, the People's Action Movement were real instrumental in having that. We had more people from the PAM party elected, and therefore their ideas, because it was a part of the manifesto for PAM. So even though we might have Dr. Harvis as the Prime Minister, our political leader was the Deputy Prime Minister. And therefore, even we had Matt Brantley from Nevis, and these persons have brought the ideas inside because it was one unit. So I want to say that based on what Mr. Wickham would have said, I know, come the next election, the People's Action Movement will form the next government. You know why?
Tell me.
There are battles I heard, and people asking me the question. So I'm going to ask the question to our Prime Minister and his party. There are battles inside the Labour Party right now. So as Mr. Wickham said, they are settled on this. There are doubts because people are asking questions. And the PAM party is ready right now to just walk in tomorrow and start governing this country and bring prosperity to the people and bring peace. Because we are a party of peace, we always speak to our people to put peace first. Let us solve our differences in a peaceful way. Because when we have crime down, the economy boom. Because what happened? The business person, the investors, do not have any fear of investing.
Yes.
So that's the philosophy of the PAM party. And I'd just like to study and let my friend Mr. Tuckett and Mr. Wickham come in and say some more. But That's the way it is, because it have been proven over time and time again what the PAM party have been doing. And I want to remind persons, if you want to think about economic development, the PAM party, be it with Team Unity and before, they were always there. And even though in the opposition, when they have the chance, they always point toward economic development for our people.
Well, if I may, before I let Peter go, because I know that's the order, but it's important to note, Peter, even though you would have said that the Labour Party would bring some level of stability based on the fact that they have I think you were intimating to the fact that they have a base. But this election, we only had 60% voter turnout. 60%. That's way below the normal average 80 or 81 that we are accustomed to. So that means close to about 4,000 to 5,000 persons stayed home. Now, I want to let it be clear. You who stayed home, you got the government you deserve. You need to exercise your franchise, because you never know what will be the outcome and how it will impact upon your future. So, that being said, the People's Labour Party, who would have gotten 5,034 votes nationally, I don't know who got third. I don't remember. But in terms of leading the charge, in terms of a viable opposition and also to be a viable government in the future, is the one that the people has definitely showed confidence in their vote from a national level. But I would also like to say that it's important also to recognize that the people themselves rejected the status quo of the past. They rejected the Labour under Desel Douglas. They rejected the PAM before that under our only living national hero, who unfortunately got thrown into the political paradigm as our national hero. And we now saw that the people said, well, if we're going to go back to any of the old guard, we're going to have a coming together of a team unity. And I wish, as my good friend had just said, I wish the spirit of peace had really prevailed, that we were able to have the eldest party show that spirit that they profess that they have, of being able to work out things peacefully. Otherwise, we would have still been in government. Because Peter himself said the country was running well. The whole country was saying the country was running well. But of course, they decided to punish those who would have found the destruction of the movement that they wanted. But again, we will see what will happen in the future. We are here to discuss the 6 months performance of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, led under the Prime Minister, Dr. the Honourable Jew. Yes, sorry about that. And I'm expecting that we can hopefully expect better from his party and his government for the benefit of all. So let us see what happens in the future. But for now, if you were to give them a grade, I can't even give them a D.
Okay. Peter, we come?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the conversation has gone more in the direction of looking at what the PLP, PAM, Team Unity did or didn't do, and less in the direction of Labour. And I think that, to me, is the conversation I'm comfortable with, because that's where I think that the national conversation is going. And I would say that I think we can agree that people do have some reservations about the performance appraisal of the government at this stage. There have been some unforced errors. But ultimately, the alternative is what is being challenged. And let me take this opportunity to speak to some of those issues. I look at organizations like third parties, the newer parties that have emerged in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago. We had the COP that did extremely well over the years, but nonetheless has been unable to attain office. I accept that right now the People's Labour Party has a significant vote share, and I think they've certainly done better than the PAM and Labour to some extent. The challenge, however, is that the way that this vote share is distributed raises questions. Now, a number of those people who didn't vote, and I agree that there are quite a few people who didn't vote in the last election. A lot of them didn't vote because they lacked confidence in the alternative to be able to do it. So certainly they didn't have confidence in Labour, else they would have voted Labour. But they also didn't have confidence in the other two parties. And while we can all lay blame and say that, you know, the issue is PAM that broke up the Team Unity administration.
You said that, I didn't say that.
We can agree that there's enough blame to go around in relation to the role that CCM played and whatnot. CCM is paying, I think they're paying their price in Nevis.
You better believe that.
Mistakes that they may have made at the national level.
Yes.
But in the final analysis, it's not going to happen differently until we're able to bang heads together. Opposition forces are able to bang heads together and determine what's the way forward. Because if you continue to have a situation where PAM and the PLP continue to fight for vote share on the mainland island of St. Kitts, you can rest assured that you'll continue to have a split vote. And Labour will continue to triumph. I mean, the analysis of what happened in the last election doesn't surprise anyone. You had a coming together under Team Unity, a coalition that worked in the same way that we had in Trinidad and Tobago with the UNC and COP. That coalition fell apart, and as a result, the other force essentially is able to hold true. And I mean, Dr. Drew's expectations are relatively low. Just hold the government together and you'll continue to remain in office, because you can rest assured that PLP will continue to argue that they should be the legitimate alternative. PAM will continue to argue that they will be the legitimate alternative. I struggle to understand how people in St. Kitts will say that they can give that either of those entities individually or jointly the opportunity to govern. And both of those entities will continue to argue that they should have the opportunity to govern on their own. And I am not seeing the way forward, quite frankly, in that kind of arrangement. So I'm hoping that these goodly gentlemen, when we finish talking about the shortcomings of the administration, the Labour administration, will pay some attention to what exactly is the alternative. Because if we can't put an alternative on the table, you can jump high or low. Dr. Drew will remain in office, regardless of whatever shortcomings he may have, whatever misgivings and missteps. The crime situation is worrying. I've heard many people commenting on the fact that it seems to be getting bad again. And yes, he definitely had it under control. But guess what? Things were going relatively well, excuse me, during COVID and post-COVID. And that's the reason why you had that triumphant victory just 1 year before the second election was called. It was a reflection of the fact that people were relatively happy. So here you go.
Okay. I might say, Azard, when I go through the list what you read, I know the government mentioned about Ministry for Small Businesses. So I will give them a credit for that. But the majority, if not all of the things here, if I have to grade them from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, I might have to give them, to be fair, maybe a 2 or so.
That's a F.
Understand? Because the promises that led the persons to vote for them. Now, PAM manifesto, it speaks so much about economic development for our people, what our people are crying for. Just recently, every day I walk through the street, even persons who voted for Labour are not satisfied with what they're getting. And they are asking me what the PAM party is going to do because they are fighting inside Labour Party. All I could say...
Only in the Labour Party?
Only in the Labour Party.
Okay,
all I'm saying, well, I haven't heard anything else. There might be confusion between PLP as well, because I heard that sometime.
I don't know
but
about
at
that.
least I know PAM.
I don't know about
PAM have no confusion with nothing. We are there,
Sure.
and everyone is rallying behind one person, and that is why I'm here today.
Okay.
Because the Honourable Sean Richards, the political leader and the executive, they asked me to be here to represent the party. So I'm talking on behalf of the party to let persons know the PAM party, not one of, is the alternative to run this country.
And I feel pressured because
Economically.
I feel like I feel like one between two, but it's okay.
No, we are friends inside. We are friends because
Okay,
we want the best for our country.
Very
But what
well,
I'm saying, the best party
Yes.
at this time to take our country through the economic storm, if you want to call it, and even to the crime wave, is the People's Action Movement. The People's Action Movement have the record and will continue to look for the persons who persons might look down upon, the working persons.
Well, what I would like to say is that our party philosophy is not only economic development, which we have proven under the leadership of our former Prime Minister, but more so about giving a hand up, a help up to those who are most vulnerable. And so, for instance, when during the campaign our party was proposing that for your electricity bill, for instance, if you are able to pay the last bill, we will reconsider what you would have had indebted to Skellig, and we will see how we could address the debt so we could ensure that you and your family, especially the young children who are going to school and who at the time preparing for CXC, can have the lights on and have their medication kept in the refrigerator so that those who are in need of medication that their medication will be kept safe. That is the type of economic development, not just the holistic and macro, but the micro, those that affect the man on the ground. Also, when we said, listen, we said we were going to increase the PAP from 500 to 1,000. The people chose differently. But look at it now. Isn't 1,000 better than the 500? Now let us look again at the promise that we would have made. We would have ensured that all persons who are working of a particular time frame and particular qualifications, who once they would have been in the program in the STEP, they would have been automatically being made appointed, or in other words, a part of the public service. Still, now we have the STEP program that is being restructured as it was said, but persons are being taken off and other persons are being brought on. Now, they told in the campaign that the STEP was bloated. They said it was bloated. It was a waste of money. But now we have more persons on it than it was with prior situation.
Can I interject here?
Just a minute. And finally, they made a promise. We welcome all. We welcome all. You don't have to worry about your job. And look at my good friend over here smiling. He is a victim of that failed promise. Because if you truly care for the people, you would do what you say. But I put a post on my Facebook. I do not believe what you say because I see what you're doing.
Okay. If Mr. Wickham don't mind, I just want to jump on something that my good friend mentioned. Is that when you even mentioned about Azard, he's a citizen of the National of St. Kitts.
Yes.
He's a qualified man. I think I heard on the news that how many last students came back under your tutelage with passes.
Yes.
So even that, something should have been worked out. But, you know.
They should have given you a blind, man. Oh, Lord. They should have given you a blind, Azard.
Azard,
no, man. They should have given you a blind, man.
I told you looking for DPP.
Oh, my
I told you
Azard.
looking for DPP. Who
Oh,
knows?
Lord.
Maybe you might be able to recommend somebody. Now, the other thing that I wanted to get on is actually when it comes to the IMF. The IMF report came out and it said certain things. And
who was the Minister of Finance at the time? Okay, go ahead.
And therefore, it speaks to something financial that is happening, right? But because it's now the IMF have saying we have to cut back on social spending. Now, if they're saying that, and this now Labour administration is trying to do other things with the money, that means something is going wrong. And that is why I'm saying, I know we have a short
Did
time.
you get your dividend?
I think so. Thanks be to God.
Lucky to you.
Okay. I'm a citizen I'm a national of St. Kitts and Nevis, so I'm entitled to it.
Yes.
And I checked and I received.
Yes.
So I hope other persons would have received. And I just want to say before time go, that we have the PAM party is the best party to govern this country at this time and going forward. We have all the tools it takes to do that.
Okay.
That's his closing remarks?
Well, I want to give Peter Wickham some brief,
Yes.
the opportunity to give brief closing remarks. Peter?
Yeah, no, I mean, I enjoy the conversation and the gusto between the two parties. Gentlemen, election is not due, and it's quite some time
Who knows?
away. And my thing is that at this point in time, this is a moment for reflection, less on the performance of the government and more on the performance of the two alternative parties. What you did or did not do in the last election and what you would do differently going forward. And I don't know that it is particularly helpful to continue to assert an election line that essentially was rejected in the last election. And my feeling is that the attention really needs to look at what goes forward. You know, the question of victimization and whatnot is something that will always sadly be part of our framework, but we still have to look forward to the next election. The assumption is that this government will not collapse, and I suspect that it will soldier on to the time being, and we really need to look less at them and more at yourselves and try to see how you can navigate the way forward and to understand what happened in the last administration, to do a review of it, an analysis of the breakup, and understand what are the implications in terms of the lessons to be learned from the last election and what you can do differently going forward. I'm certainly anxious to participate in conversations of this nature and hope that we will have other opportunities to share as we attempt to look at a new ethos in the country going forward politically.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you.
Hopefully we could get you to do some polstering for us, but that's a different discussion. I would just like to say that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, especially the people of St. Kitts, they already know who they want to be that alternative party. They have expressed it in many ways on one. They've expressed it in their vote. and they've expressed it on social media, they've expressed it in various ways in the public through various media forms. And I wanted to let you know that the People's Labour Party is ready. We are now preparing for constitutionally due convention. And you're going to see a very powerful, a very active, a very vibrant political party in its glory when that time comes. And rest assured, we will be behind the great leadership of our former Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. So, wet your hand and wait for us.
Thank you, Craig. Tuckett.
Thank you, Craig.
So my final parting word is that
Again?
peace be to all. God bless St. Nevis.
Amen, amen.
And the PAM party will always be the most best party in this nation for economic development and personal development.
And the
of
People's
our
Labour
nation.
Party.
Thank you all for being here this morning. It has indeed been a pleasure.
Yes.
A fruitful discussion looking at the Labour administration's 6 months in
They could have given up
office.
life. Oh gosh. man.
And so we want to say thank you to the listeners. Stay tuned. We have another guest here with us momentarily, and we'll take a short break and get right back to you.
Yes, it's 2 minutes after 9 o'clock, and I like to see the amicability between the parties. That's nice. They're friends and all that. That's good. I love that. Okay, we've got Pastor Ron Daniel II coming up next.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Horsford's Value Mart IGA is helping you spend less and save more. How, you ask? Essential Everyday and Equiline. Spend less on our Essential Everyday products and get the best quality, the best taste, and the best value. Spend less for all your family health and beauty needs with the Equiline brand of over-the-counter products. Horsford's Value Mart IGA is helping you spend less. With our Essential Everyday products and Equiline over-the-counter health and beauty care products. Shop smart and spend less at Value Mart, where price matters most.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
It's 9:04. It's Love Week here on WINNFM. It's February 8, 2023. And as part of our Love Week programming, we've got Pastor Ron Daniel II in studio with some sage counsel on matters of the heart. Of course, we're talking about married people and all that, right? So you guys are married, right? The listeners, I mean, you guys are married? Well, that's what Pastor Ron Daniel is here to speak about. Good morning, sir.
Morning, we have with us in studio Pastor Ron Daniel. And of course, it is Love Week here in WINNFM. And it is the celebration of love until February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. If you look at the studio, it is beautifully adorned with decorations, teddy bears, rose petals. And so the emphasis is love. And we have with us Pastor Ron Daniel, who is going to speak on the topic of healthy relationships. And I've realized that there are some posts on Facebook saying, why is it that relationships aren't lasting as long as they have been in the past? Because you realize your grandparents together for years, and now in this modern day, in our day and age, you realize persons are breaking up after sometimes a few months, sometimes a few years. And so the longevity of the relationship is not there as it was before. So we're going to have a frank discussion. We have Pastor Ron Daniel here with us, who will be able to answer questions from his perspective and experience. We also recognize that there are opportunities for callers to call in. This is your show, and we want to ensure that you are as informed but yet still engaged in the discussion. And so we want to make sure that the opportunity and avenue is available to you to hear your views and ask your questions. So, Pastor Ron Daniel, could you tell us a little about yourself so the audience would be aware?
Good morning. Good to be here. First time in Win FM. First time for sure on this program as well. It's a pleasure to be here to share. I was kind of shocked that they called me to speak on love, but I guess there's so much I could say about myself. But based on the context, I've been married for 17 years. I think this year is going to be 18 years, and not just married, happily married. And I often say my wife is like my life, and so. That's about it. I'm a pastor and, have 3 children. So.
Okay, interesting. And Jamster, you realized last week, and those who are listening, I think, this week, I spoke about an article that spoke about the benefits of being in a healthy relationship. Long life, reduced stress, all of the pros. So could you...
So that's encouraging you as well.
Yes, it's encouraging all of us.
No, I want to speak for you, because I realize you're talking up this.
Well, not for me on this part.
Not on this juncture.
I'm sure that there are others out there who are listening and are ready and waiting to take that step.
But AZ, I thought you'd bring up the argument when we were preparing for this last night.
Yes.
The argument, you brought up some very good points, so you need to put those questions.
Sure, I'm ready.
Because those cut to the heart of the question.
We were saying what are some of the reasons, and we're going to listen to your reasons. And of course, we had our discussion because we have a little chat group about the topics that we're going to bring up and discuss. And so we want to hear from you. What are some of the reasons you think persons aren't in and staying in long-term relationships?
Sorry, relationships, you're talking in context of marriage or relationships, period?
Relationships,
Love relationships, whether it is marriage or
just together. Okay, that's a multifaceted question. But one of the things I would suggest, well, for me, I believe every answer that you want is in the Word of God. Yes? So, one of the clear principles there is 1 Corinthians 13. It speaks to the fact that love suffers long and is kind. Love wanteth not itself, is not puffed up, doesn't seek her own, doesn't keep any record of wrongs. Now, just using that, you realize why we have a lot of these breakups. One, we have a lot of selfish people who decide to get married. That may sound hard, but in the sense that you can't be so focused, and I'm talking even Christians, you can't be so focused on yourself. And the world now has a general shift to self-gratification and self, and self-love and self. Now, if you're so focused on self, when you come home as a husband, and you expected your wife to do A, B, or C, or whichever one, and they don't do it, like, hey, you're messing up myself. You see what I mean? Whatever it is, let's say, okay, let me use a common one for females. Let me hit the men. Okay, Rana going out, please make sure you wash, do whatever when I come back and make sure the place clean up. Yeah, babes, I'm gonna do it. And you come home, you realize Ron there in the couch watching cricket, which you probably would be. And then you're like, what happened? Man, I can't take this man. And you get on your phone and you call your girlfriend and say, I tell this man to you can't even wash. You like you want to kill me out. And then He still want things from me later, etc., etc., etc. I can't take that. And then the girlfriend say, oh, me, that's why me single, daddy, because me can't take it on. And then she say, it's straight on. And those sort of things percolate. But I said, keeps no record of wrongs. You know, there was this husband that said, when my wife gets angry, she gets historical. And the guy said, no, you mean hysterical? And he said, no, historical. She bring back all the things them I did over. And of course, those things mount up. If you love someone, you should be willing to say, okay, hey, yes, Ron made a mistake at this time. You know, I love him enough to forgive him and move on from it. And then the whole issue, to my mind, of compromise. Okay, we have to give and take. Okay, I am in St. Kitts now, so my wife gonna deal with the children, dropping them off. You know, stuff like that. But some people are like, oh, no, not nah. Where you gonna sing this for? Where he better find a way to get these child back. You know what I mean? On your own. So I think that is really where it goes to. That people are more selfless and more selfish.
You know, Ron, you made an interesting point because you talk about the self. And I realized for 2023, a lot of persons made a lot of affirmations about loving themselves. I found that at one point in time it was YOLO, you only live once, and now I find in 2023 a lot of persons are using this.
Even
self.
since 2022, you would have self. Yes.
You know, self-preservation. This is my year now. This is the things that I
want to do, no matter what.
Yeah. So when you talk about compromise, it struck a nerve that maybe that whole theme of self, and of course you have to love yourself, but if you're in a relationship, it also means compromise.
Well, the Bible speaks to the fact that you should love the other more than yourself. You see what I mean? That you esteem persons higher than yourself. And that is not just your partner, but generally. It says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and died for it. So you see, Jesus Christ died for us even before we were things. So the same thing, the husband should be willing to love that wife the same way. And then it says, after you've done that as a husband, wives, submit yourselves to your husband. So a lot of compromise goes in there, and it's not about self, but we focus on self. You know, if, for instance, my wife don't need to iron for me or cook for me. If she does it fine, but that my love is not based on her doing that. But there are some husbands who will be saying, okay, hey, unless she does that, she doesn't love me, and so I don't want to be in any relationship with her. I can't take this on, like blah blah blah.
But at the same time though,
sure.
My contention is that, because you raise a good point there. My contention is that the rise of feminism is the reason for a lot of this selfishness and a lot of this almost militant kind of battle between the sexes.
Yes, and then also the resultant response to the rise in feminism, because of course the men don't want to be push back, and so then there is this, and I think that's why Azard spoke about our grandparents and so on in the past lasted longer because it wasn't this, but now you have more and more feminism, which is good. I have no problem with that. I tell people I live in my wife's house. I just stay at her pleasure. But we have some people like, oh, no, I need to be the man. I need to be in charge. And then you have a lot of pushback.
But Azard raised a good point last night, because when he said it, I even told him, stop talking, because I want us to use this for tomorrow. This is the second time I have to do that. I said, don't waste the argument here. But the point is, he's right. I mean, I know coming up, you see all these long-suffering wives who know that the husband was cheating or has a woman on the side, but they stick around and
they endure. I
know it was a different time, but what's your comment on that?
Well, one of the things I said just recently is that now men don't just have women on the side and have women on the front. It's so open. It's not just at the side. I find that people generally were more forgiving of people. Now it's like, okay, you mess up, that's it, right? And also we have to, and that's not to justify or somebody should mess up and you just stay with them, but we have to love that person, yes, and be willing to forgive that person and at least try. Now, if that person, for instance, my view is that if counseling a couple and a husband or whoever is unfaithful and he means to be unfaithful, that's nothing you can do about that. But if he's unfaithful, I'm very sorry, please, let's try work, then I think that's something that you could work with. But even in those situations, you have people that are so focused on themselves that it get crazy. And it's not just cheating, it's just different things. I know of a person who said the husband worked too much, and so he not home enough, so they gotta go because they need their happiness. So it's not just.
So what's the easiest way to discern where selfishness is the problem? If like in the course of trying to save a relationship and you realize, because like you said, a lot of the times it's just selfishness. How do you decide?
Well, what we do is that we'll sit down and we try to say, okay, hey, what are the issues? What do you think is the major issue here? Right? And then it naturally come out if it is selfishness. And then, hey, most times, and you have, sometimes we always say only the men cheat, but the woman does cheat too. So I've had both. So it is a case where let's see if the other partner is willing to work on it. And if the other partner is willing to work on it, then we have something that we could work with. But selfishness is at the heart of it. It's so serious that one time we have these sessions for couples, and the wife had taken out a credit card and the husband didn't know, right? And vice versa too. We've also had that. You have accounts and the husband don't know. I remember a couple, and it's only when they went to do the mortgage that, you had to report all your accounts that the other partner knew. So again, it's selfishness either way. I also know of a case where a husband was married, but he got land with his mother and he didn't take off his mother's name because he wanna make sure in case anything. So there's a lot of selfishness, even pre-selfishness before there is any
Janko,
issue.
before you go on there, I think you raise a very important point. A lot of persons go into relationships, whether long-term or marriage, with a backup plan.
With a backup plan, and the backup plan is stronger than the front plan.
If something is going to go wrong, this is what is going to happen. So they go in with reservations.
A load of reservations.
But that's not necessarily selfishness. It's just cynicism, which is...
It is rooted in selfishness.
Well, yeah, but in the sense that self-preservation,
exactly. That's what I said. It's about because cynicism because you want to preserve yourself in case anything happens.
Anything goes wrong.
So that's the whole thing. You must lose yourself for others. I mean, even Mahatma Gandhi said, it's about losing yourself in the service of others. But going back to biblical principles, that's what you should do. You should be looking out for the other.
So in a sense,
give yourself for the other.
So in a sense, you're saying that someone who might not be cynical because they see all the dysfunctional and destroyed relationships around them. So they don't want to be selfish, but at the same time, they want to prepare for a worst case scenario. So they hope for the best, but plan for
the worst.
So to me, that's not exactly selfishness, especially if you're not dealing with an essentially selfish person.
Yeah, the person may not be essentially selfish, but may become selfish based on what they see happening, or also who's in your ear. I tell people you have to watch your gang, right? Because your gang, whoever your gang is, will help to decide things. For instance, Azard is a lawyer, yes? I'm sure that there were some people in his gang who said, what are you going to study law for? They have enough lawyers, etc. And you have to decide, boy, is this what I want to do? And it's the same thing with marriage. They're going to be like, boy, Azard, you're getting married to that girl, you sure? Boy, I would tell you, set up this account here. Anyway, you're lying. And you have to decide, okay, you set a trust here, you can put my friend here and it trust so that. And so you have to decide, this is what I'm going to do. Right? So at the end of the day, because all of us have, I think, pride tugging. All of us born with pride genes. So it's just how long it pulls. So if you pull at the self-person pride and say, boy, you sure you're going to do this? Then it's a problem.
And if I think it was an interview with Michelle Obama. She spoke about relationships and she spoke about marriage, and she said that persons go into marriages thinking that it's 50-50, but sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes it's 70-30. That one partner carries the weight for a certain time until the other partner situation changes and that other partner
with the hope possibly too it may be 70-30 forever.
but we had that discussion and I told him, to me it should be 100 because you see what I mean?
I hear what you're saying. Yes,
each person should put their all into the relationship.
Exactly.
So
I think that he was talking about 70-30 and so on in essence of public financial.
Yes.
But yes, it should be 100.
Or even emotional support, or even maybe when it comes to responsibilities, because I'm thinking, looking at that couple, the Obamas, from what we've seen and heard, the president, he would have been very busy at one point in time, and to become president of the United States of course, you'll have to sacrifice a lot of time. And then you realize that she will have had to put some of her career on hold.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking in those kind of situations.
Well, you may say that, and that may be so to some extent, but I have a reverse view. I think her career wasn't put on hold, and I think her career is now such that it may have been her design to just be a support for him.
Yeah.
And that's all it is.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine.
Feminists need to learn that.
I had a friend of mine who was doing law with
she said
me at the
70-30.
time. Yeah, I had a friend of mine, and she said to me, Ron, I'm doing this law degree. I'm bright enough to do it, and I will do it. But this is a backup plan for me, because if I have a rich husband, I don't want to work. Right? And Mr. Obama could have been like that too. That is... And now she has such a platform because her husband was president that she's able to sell books just like that and make millions and millions of dollars. It may have been part of a strategic
But
plan
what I'm thinking to Ron, now the situation has changed, so maybe it's now him now providing the 70.
Exactly.
And she providing the 30.
And she's making, to my mind, she look like she's making more money than him. Because every book she brings out is gone in a matter of moments. And she's produced more books than him since the presidency.
And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with that, because a man and a woman are supposed to complement each other. So
and they come together as a whole, even financially.
There's no shame, right? There's no shame in one person being 30 or on the other person being 70.
Especially
because
as
you're
you have
complementing each other.
And plan a
Exactly,
goal.
exactly.
And the goal must be a shared goal. It mustn't just be, this is what I want to accomplish. I want to have $100,000 by 10 years. And if I don't get it, no, come on. And it may be even by delaying that, in another 2 years, you get 200,000. It doesn't matter. It's just for you to decide, hey, I love this woman or I love this man, and I'm going to go all in. And I'm going to ask God for help every day, some patience, some long, being willing to wait and compromise, etc., etc. And then in time, you'll see it better.
And, there's a saying that once in a relationship and you're in a relationship, you make a decision to be in that relationship every day. So when you wake up, every day is not going to be rosy. Everything is not going to be perfect. But it's a decision that you make to continue every day.
Yeah.
Callers, we're going to take your calls. Remember, it's Love Week, and we're here discussing the sacredness of love with Pastor Ron Daniel. So give us a call, 662-0989, 762-0989, and 466-0989. So feel free to give us a call and seek the pastor's counsel. Because as for the other two of us, hey, we have nothing that you can learn from.
Oh, really? That is so sad. That is so sarcastic.
I think Jam's speaking for himself.
I'm speaking for myself. I'm speaking for myself.
Even in that way, we can learn from Jam's mistakes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I always have the discussion with my wife about. I feel like.
And how long have you been married?
2007. So that's what, 15 years?
That's 16 years this year. Good.
Years, yeah. Okay. So no, we always have the discussion and about. She's a psychologist too, so we always have discussion about some of the how feminism has gone off. To me, has gone off the rails in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And has contributed to a lot of these terrible relationship outcomes that we see. Let's go to the phones. Until you're on the air.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
But we must try to understand that in every relationship, communication is the key. We should always trust but verify. And
that's a compliance term, but go ahead. It's not a love term, but go ahead.
You could love, nothing wrong with love, because you see, love have a tendency to get hot, cold, dry out, and fade away and get back together again, because that is love. But when you come to human being, trust but verify. Make sure. Don't be naive. Don't take it for granted. Ask the question. Cover your base. And let your partner cover your base and question you too.
Caller,
so that both of you can be on good footing. Equal footing, if you like. And it is so much the boss and you're not the boss. Is a partnership. And partnership means equal relationship and come to the best decision to move both parties together. Because if you don't, somebody who is stronger is going to take probably advantage of the weaker one. And that's where you're going to have conflict. Nothing wrong in finding out, nothing wrong in asking, but be smooth with your questions.
But call out to be a little funny, just to be a little facetious. You know where that saying came from, right?
What?
Trust but verify.
Well, I'm not sure where it come from.
Well, that was Ronald Reagan in response to the Russians claiming that they had destroyed some nuclear warheads. He said, "Trust but verify." So, that's a very cynical take. So
yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, and it is used in the world of compliance a lot, that you don't just trust the person you verify.
That have been used in the casino system, the banking system. I trust you, Jamster. You give me $101 bill. I must count them to make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To make sure. Nothing wrong in checking it out. Check it out. Make sure that you know where you stand and where you're going. And it's not that you don't trust. I don't trust you. Yes, I trust you, but I just want to make sure. Nothing wrong in making sure. Because you don't want to reach out there and find out that the thing is different to what that was said to you or that was given to you. And both parties could do that, because if you have nothing to hide or worry about, let the search go on and let the trust open. Because that's how you're going to have a relationship, You have to trust each other, and in trust you verify.
Thank you.
I trust you, but I take out an insurance. I trust you, but I make sure I have a spare tire in the car. I trust you, but I make sure the tank is full, because I want to reach your town. So these are the things that I think that we should be looking at. Thank you very much. Very good conversation.
Okay, great.
And in human, if even though this trainer don't keep the water, don't hold any water, it sure keep the water clean. Have a good day.
Okay, great.
Thank you, caller. There's a question here. Can someone truly love if they don't even love? Can someone truly love others or be in a relationship if they don't love themselves?
Yeah, I think it's very hard. And I've seen this strain on some couples where one person really don't love themselves. So this person have to keep pouring in and telling, yes, you're good. So it can be extremely hard to love others, because you don't even know what love is if you don't love yourself, So, it's extremely hard. But, go ahead.
You have, as a pastor, I'm sure you will have had to counsel many couples and persons in marriages.
Yes.
What has been the number one factor for disagreement and perhaps divorce?
And that's why I said I come back to the same need to be selfless and have that compromise, because I think that's really what it is, right? And although the caller spoke about trust and verify, sometimes we are so keen on not believing, right, that we just don't believe. It doesn't matter. The Bible says whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are pure, think on these things. But sometimes we have assumptions and we really believe that Azard cheating. And no matter what Azard say, so you just say, you know what, no. And I remember I've had different people call me, oh yes, I know for sure. And I said, okay. So we call them, we sit them down. And I said, okay, you said enough for sure. Sir, this is what she's saying, respond. And then when they leave, it's good. Because when you get, and sometimes that's why I really encourage people to have counseling or find someone who could be an independent mediator. Because a lot of times you have these beliefs in your head about your spouse. You don't share them with her or him. And you go off believing this has to be, oh, you see, Azard talk to me, I don't tell you this. And you just continue. The whole thing plays in your mind without you being able to sit and discuss. There's some people that are bad and well bad, and we understand that.
Let's take another call.
We have
caller, go right ahead. ILNT.
Good morning. I just thought I'd weigh in a bit on the trust part of it. Is trust absolute? Is it a case where either you trust or you don't, or because the pastor is there, either you have faith or you don't? There's no in between. Because the whole idea of trust but verify seems to be oxymoronic, you know.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Doesn't mesh.
Exactly.
Yeah, either you trust or not.
Yeah,
Like,
but at the same time, you realize that if you verify what you're trusting, it adds to the trust. You become more trusting, I would think. So I guess what I'm asking, is it really all that?
I think it is an absolute, yes. I think it is an absolute, yes.
You think it's absolute?
Yeah, because you can't. The fact that you have to verify, it suggests that there is some gray area. You know, you may have. Listen, I generally trust, you know, but I am not sure. So let me just still make sure.
But the funny thing is,
after you verify, don't you actually increase
trust more?
Trust?
Yes. You increase the trust, exactly, which suggests that the trust wasn't there. You see what I mean? The trust was probably at about a 70%.
It was there, but
yeah, exactly. It wasn't there. It wasn't there fully. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said that in my mind, it's still an absolute. So you may 70% trust. You know, yeah, I want to believe. You know, well, let me just think. So it's like you are majority there, 80%, 70, whatever majority you want to use, 51. But no, when you verify it and you say yes, boy. But then also, Carla, I'm sure you've been on the other end where you tell somebody X or Y and they didn't believe you. And then they say, Lord, you know, when I check it back, I realize for you. And you're like, oh, no, you don't want to hear nothing now because you didn't believe me in the first place. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So again.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
The other way of looking at it is that at least you have more, shall we say,
assurance.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Not only assurance, you now think that the other person realizes that you can be trusted. Okay, and therefore less inclined to do the verification process.
Also, you see, you don't want them doing the verification process. You see, that's what you just said there.
Well, the thing is,
you ideally you want them to trust you. You don't want them to verify it, and you hope having them verified in the first instance.
Is the fact that if you trust and that trust is broken, it has really severe consequences that most people don't want to go through at all.
Yeah.
And that is where, okay, yes, you may consider that selfish, right? But in a sense, I think someone used the word self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
That comes into play as well, because we are all human. All of us make mistakes. It's nice to forgive mistakes. But even that in itself is another question altogether. If you forgive somebody, do you forget? Can you forget? You know, so there are all those human emotions that I think play into this. And, you know, maybe it boils down to a case of just luck, whether all of that taken together, you know, it ends well. Sometimes it ends well, sometimes it ends badly.
Okay.
You know, but it's a good discussion, nevertheless, I think, to have.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
We have to leave it there. It's 9:34.
Yeah.
We've got our next guest in studio.
So we want to thank Pastor Ron Daniel for coming here with us this morning and speaking on the topic of healthy relationship. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you, and I hope to come back again. God bless you.
No problem.
All
Thank
right.
you, man. Yes.
And a happy Valentine, Pastor, when it comes. Yeah.
Yes, I think me and you're going to enjoy a great Valentine's.
I know you got this.
Me and you're going to enjoy a great Valentine's. I don't know about him.
All right.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so our next guest is the Permanent Secretary of Sustainable Development, Shez Doe Tyson. She's going to be joining us after the break.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
noon, and morning. Tasty biscuit, just can't resist it. Tea time, calling night, noon, and morning. Tasty biscuit, just can't resist it.
You can dunk it, you lick it, you taste it, you spin it, you twist it, you can mix them all together. It don't get any better. You can dunk it, you lick it, you taste it, you spin it, you twist it, you can mix them all together. It don't get any better. Anytime, whatever time. It's tea time. Whatever time. It's tea time. Snack on a delicious tea time biscuit anytime. It's tea time.
It's 9:37. Island Tea Time. Jamster sitting in with AZ, and we just had the Permanent Secretary of Sustainable Development, Shesdo Tyson, joining us. And she's going to tell us about what they're going to be up to in the next few days. Good morning, Shez.
Good morning, good morning. We're here with as Jamsa said, the Permanent Secretary of Sustainable Development, Shesdo Tyson. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning to you, Win FM, and good morning to the listening audience. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Awesome. And Jamsa, the cameras. Yes. So we want to make sure that persons can be able to view as well. And so we're here with the Permanent Secretary of Sustainable Development, and it is an interesting area. You know, persons in St. Kitts and Nevis always have an interest in land.
Yes.
Land is something that everyone wants to be a part of, everyone wants ownership too. And so could you give us a brief description of what your department will be doing in the near future?
Well, let me first say that it is a pleasure to be here. Now, this month, we designated February as a public outreach month. We recognize that the public is anxious. They want to know what is happening because they're saying, you know, we want to pay, but we can't pay. We go to the Treasury, they're sending us back. What is going on? And so what we decided to do is meet the public. We're going to tell you why you can't pay yet. Okay? So we've designated this month, February, for that. And one of the first, we had one of our activities last night. We met the residents of Lagreet, Lagreet North. We had an excellent meeting with them. You know, the government has decided to give them the land free. And so it was an awesome meeting. I mean, the people were so responsive. They couldn't believe that it actually happened. It was a promise made, and it's a promise kept.
Okay.
And so we're going to continue with the activities. And so tomorrow, Thursday, and on Friday, we're having a land fair. It's unique. It's the first of its kind. You've never heard of anything like this. So I know you have a lot of questions for me. So you want to know what's happening. We're having a land fair, and we decided to invite our agencies, our supporting agencies, to partner with us tomorrow. So the ministry is leading, and we are bringing in NHC.
Yes.
We are bringing in the Treasury. We are bringing in Lands and Survey Department. We are bringing in physical planning. We are bringing in urban development. We are bringing in the land management unit. We are bringing in this, the privatization. We are bringing all of our supporting agents because people have questions and we want to provide answers.
Yeah.
Okay?
So the fair, as you said before, it is tomorrow and Friday?
Tomorrow and Friday. We are having it in the parking lot downstairs. The ministry is directly east of the large credit union, the big credit union.
Yes.
We are upstairs, and so we are coming downstairs. We're going to have our tents there from this afternoon. We're going to be set up. We are going to be ready to meet the public. So we start tomorrow at about 9:30, 10. We're going to be ready for 9. The staff, we're going to be there in place for 9 o'clock. and we are extending it until 5 for the 2 days.
Yes.
We're going through the lunchtime, we're going overtime because people have questions. People have been coming to the ministry non-stop. Why I need to fix this? This isn't right. What is this? It's like we're inundated almost daily.
I know that there has been some complaints about person who would have been applying for land for some time, but yet they have been on file. Are there any solutions to that?
Well, exactly. That is the real purpose of the fair. The real purpose of the fair, as I said, is to meet the public. We are telling you, you may have applied. We can't find some of the documents because we had so many issues when we got there. And so we have this project, LAND. It's actually an acronym that we created.
Yes.
It's Land Allocation, Normalization, and Distribution Project. So that's what we've named it. We've captioned in that. And under that now, we're going to look at how we can be more transparent in the distribution process going forward. People have said, listen, I've been applying for 10 years, 5 years, and no response. I'm looking for the applications, I can't find them. So this is what we're doing. We've reorganized, we've digitized everything. What I found when I got there was information was everywhere and nowhere. It was everywhere and nowhere and in some people's head. It can't work like that. And so what we did is that we pulled everything from all over, from all the various places. And so we created databases. We created spreadsheets. So when somebody comes in and I look through the list, let me see, this spreadsheet, no, your name is not at all on the application. So it means you have to reapply. So all of these matters we're going to address tomorrow.
So you think that one of the main reasons why persons would have been applying and not getting a response might have been the lack of documentation that is
disorganization.
Disorganization.
Yes.
And
disorganization.
And I'm getting that there hasn't been a digitalization of the process in terms of persons who go online and see their application. Is that something that
that is all part of this project? So we are bringing things forward. We are bringing things forward. This is the 21st century.
Yes.
So we are operating like a 21st century ministry.
Because and then there's the payment of land for the payment of land at the treasury, and sometimes I think, well, as the process is, you got to hold on to all your receipts.
Yes.
So you could prove, and then I think the land department, after you make the final payment, if you mistake the receipts, you could also ask for a letter as evidence that you have paid off.
Yes.
What I would like to see is, as you said, you talk about digitalization, is that you could see and track your payments on a digital platform. So, you pay $500 today, you could go in and you have your own little account and you could say, well, this is my account and I have $2,000 remaining on the land before I could pay off for it. Something like that, I think, would be...
Well, that is an excellent idea. As I said, we have brought the ministry into the 21st century.
Yes.
We still have a lot to go. But for the last 6 months, we have done a lot of work. And what you're suggesting is certainly going to be something that we're going to consider, because you should be able to tap in and find out how much more you owe.
Yes.
You should be able to access it somewhere online. This is digital
because
age.
Currently, as it stands, you have to go to the registry. I think you have to go to sustainable development to get some form or some sort of thing to show to the treasury, where I think that you should just be able to see it online.
Well, as I said, it's part of the process. We are going to get there in time. But for now, we have brought things forward and we are saying, listen, we are reorganizing and we're asking the public to help us, because we find out we have some missing information. And so the fear is for everybody.
Yes.
The fear is for anybody who has a land concern.
Let me ask a question.
Yes.
I noticed, I remember when I saw the flyer earlier, I was wondering what normalization, but I think what the normalization applied to, but I think I understand now.
Yes.
One of the things I heard the Deputy Prime Minister address at the budget, the budget assembly in December, was the fact that a lot of people think that because they support the party, it means that they don't pay. They don't pay for their houses. They don't pay regularly. They don't pay for their land. So, what is the ministry doing to turn that around and make people understand that good citizens pay for their land and pay for their houses?
Well, sometimes people do things because of lack of knowledge, and so we assume people know, and we don't always tell them. And so that is what we are doing. We are going to listen, we realize you've had this land for 10 years, because our records are now showing it, now that we can see everything in front of us. And we realize that you may not have made a payment, say, for the last 7-8 years, or for what's going on? Why not? You know, you have a personal conversation with people, and sometimes you might be surprised at the situation. I didn't realize, I didn't know that interest, I didn't know. I said, yes, and this is what I think you can do. And you have conversation
So it's more
and
of a personal approach
that
rather
is
than
what,
receiving a letter to say.
Because, yes, you get letters, and some people, they don't even know.
Yes.
They don't even understand what the letters mean. So come in and see us if you have a concern, whatever it is. You want to find out something about your land, you applied, you didn't get through, you want to exchange land, you are not satisfied with something, come in and tell us. So it's a dual purpose fair. We are taking information from the public and we're giving information to the public.
Yes.
So we are improving the relationship between the public and the ministry. Somehow people feel that the Ministry of Sustainable Development is some distant ministry somewhere upstairs.
Yes.
No, we are Ministry of Service.
Yes.
Yes, we are there to serve the public. We are there to assist. And so it's like, see the face behind the ministry. See what we do. See how we can help you. Come forward. Come and speak with us.
We have
That
a
is
call
what we're
coming
doing.
in.
Okay.
In case you're just joining us, it's 9:47. We've got the Permanent Secretary of Sustainable Development, Chef Dor Tyson. Island T, go right ahead. Shez Dor Tyson.
Yes.
Go right ahead, caller.
Yes. Good morning to you and your
Good morning.
guests.
Good morning.
I understand the normalization bit, okay, because you have to have some kind of order out of the chaos. But I noticed part of the acronym included distribution, I think it was.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. What if someone turns up and says, "Well, I'm just looking for land"? Is there something that can be pointed to in terms of a land use policy, that areas are in fact already earmarked for let's say housing development or business development or whatever? Okay, is there, in other words, is that land use policy and the allocation of actual spaces for development, is that already in place? So that person can be assured that, well, they're not just applying in thin air everywhere or nowhere. That's the question.
Thank you very much for the question. And that is where we're going to. Since we got there, as I said, we've pulled all the information together. Actually, this policy was there, I think, as far back as 1995. But somewhere along the line recently, chaos happened. And so what we are doing now, we've reorganized it. We would have had designated areas prior to. There was a policy. It needs updating, and that is going to be our next step. But there was a policy where what is done. But something went wrong somewhere along the line. And so we are going to look at that old policy. We are going to redraft it. But in the meantime, we still have designated areas for certain. For example, Canada, the Canada Estate, certain projects go there. The industrial site, if you come with a certain proposal, we can suggest. Yeah, so we have that. We also have the various developments. We've printed them. As I said, we've digitized everything. We now have. You can come and say, I want land in Shadwell. I'm going to ask you, what do you want the land for? Is it for a business application or what? Then I can look in the commercial space. Do we have any lands in the commercial space? We have some designated commercial spaces. We have in Shadwell, we have in Dewars, we have in St. Peters. So now that we have everything in front of us, we can see those areas, what can go where, along with our planning unit, of course, because there's a process that we will go through. But we are going to update the policy because the policy needs updating. Things have changed. The type of businesses have changed. So all of that has to be built into the new and updated version of the policy.
I noticed you haven't mentioned farming or agriculture, land allocations or designations for farming or agriculture. Did I hear wrong?
No. Actually, I've invited the Ministry of Agriculture to be with me tomorrow as well. As I said, I have supporting agencies. Now, the ministry would have designated 1,200 acres for farming. And so we actually gave them that authority. You have those 1,200 acres. You manage those lands. And so we are bringing them in tomorrow because we know farmers going to come.
Yes.
We know farmers going to come. So rather than me having to deal with it, we train them. As a matter of fact, we had a training session in October last year where we trained them to use the new updated system. So we trained them to manage those 1,200 acres. And so we're going to bring them in tomorrow. You discuss with farmers who come what the lands, where the lands are, what they can do on the lands. So that is being considered. We did not leave the farmers out. We are not leaving anybody out, you know. Land is our main resource. It's a Kittitian right. It is a Kittitian right. We have to move away from the thinking that land is for certain people. No, the land is for everybody. It's for all of us and for our posterity, for our children to come. So everybody tomorrow, farmers, well, I wouldn't say fishers, but definitely farmers, potential landowners, those of you who got letters. And could I make a special plug?
Of course.
Because those persons who got lands in 2022, that...
I was going to ask that question.
You ask and I'll answer.
So I know because I've had persons come to me in relation to it as an attorney, where it is that some persons would have already had their letters for the offer to be made for the land. But it seems as though there are allegations that lands were given or offered, let me not given, offered to persons, different persons, the same spot. Is there any truth to that?
There is a bundle of truth.
Yes, I was going to ask that actually. Yes.
There is a bundle of truth, if I can categorize truth in that way. Let me tell you, sometimes we do things in haste and we err. And so our focus at the ministry is on resolving the matters. Who made it? It doesn't matter at this point. The point is we have to resolve it. And so we have lots and lots of cases where people we have 4 or 5 persons with the same lots. We have a number of issues. Since I got there, people have come in with blank letters. They got letters and there's no lot number assigned. And they come in and say, P.S., could you write in something? I said, no, it's not done that way.
Yeah.
It's not done that way. We have people who come in with letters and they said, you know, P.S., when I went, I realized blocks are on the land. I said, okay, now that I have digitized everything, I can look at it. I said, you know, actually, that land has been given to about 3 other persons. Error. Okay? Now, who does the land belongs to? It almost makes me feel like Solomon in the Bible. You have to split the baby. You understand? And that is why we're asking people, who, especially those persons who got letters last year, please bring your letters in. We are not taking away your land. But if 4 and 5 persons have the same lot, what I have to do is to determine who was there first and put to somewhere else. So we are not taking away anybody's land. We are just reorganizing the process. And another thing we find is that people are bringing in letters that we don't have on our records. That's why we're asking them to bring them in, because then we can see what we actually have in front of us. We have people who their land was sold and they already paid off for it, but somebody else already. Yeah, we have people who do surveys, and they will tell you, but I've surveyed this land 3 times already for the last year. So what are we going to do? So we have a lot of these issues. So we're asking people, bring your letters in, especially those from 2022. And those are the ones who we decided not to accept payments from, because you realize it can create some real problems down the line.
It can, and a lot of legal ramifications.
Listen, I think all the lawyers in St. Kitts says what I said.
That is a very contentious area because even though it might be the sustainable development is a government agency, and even though there's a different set of persons there, they still will have exercise at the same time government powers, and so it's seen as one.
Yes, it doesn't matter. You are getting it. So I think all the lawyers know me by now, because they would have had to write me on some matter. And so what we are saying is, listen, This has to stop. This has to stop. We have to fix it. And that is what we are doing. We're fixing it. Okay? So that is the purpose of the fear. No fears. You don't have to be worried about losing your life. You're not losing. We are setting
So you're not losing the opportunity to earn land.
No.
You're just getting
we are organizing.
Yes.
We are organizing the system. We realized we don't have some letters. You have them. So that's why I said it's dual purpose. We are giving information, and at the same time we are taking information back. You have these letters, come, bring them in. We realize that you are one of 4 owners, we have to put you somewhere else. And in a lot of ways, it can be to your advantage. Because I've had people come in and say, you know, when I went down St. Paul's, I'm from Bastille. And what am I doing?
But it could also be to your, let's be real, it could also be to your disadvantage as well, because you might get a piece of land that you didn't like the location as much as you did, you know.
That is true. But guess what? That's what people service is all about. The first thing I'm going to ask you, okay, so you're one of 4 for lot number 10 at Joe's. Where do you want to go? Give me your preference. Give me 3 areas you would like to. So I give you that option. It's not about me it's not a big stick attitude when it comes to me. It's a communication. It's a conversation we're having on the way forward. So I'm saying to you, okay, you're one of 4 persons. This is what happened. This person started paying back in 2014 or 2015, but they may have lost their job during COVID. But you got a letter with the same lot. So it means that person really should be given the first consideration. So now what am I going to do with you? Where do you want to go? Do you have any preferences? I'll say, okay, we have about 7 lots. We will consider. Yes. So it's all part of the organization. It's conversation. It's meeting the public. It's helping people to understand what is happening. Okay? Any more questions?
Are there any callers coming through Jamstar? Any calls?
No calls.
Okay,
that's
wonderful.
I think a lot of persons are listening because, as you know, as I said before, when it comes to the area land, that is something that a lot of persons have a lot of vested interest in.
And everybody wants to know when they can pay very shortly. As soon as we get this fear sorted and we can now plug the holes that we have, we are ready to accept payments, because it means that we can relocate people accordingly, and the process begins from there. Okay, it's going to be a more transparent process. It's going to be a fairer process to all involved. So I'm appealing to everyone, come on out tomorrow. Do not stay home. We're here to help. We're here to assist. We're here to support. Don't have any fears. FEAR. Come to the fair, FAIR, and meet us, have a conversation, and let us see what we can do to assist.
Okay, so give the location, time.
We are having the fair. It's going to be downstairs in our parking lot.
That's a sustainable development.
Sustainable development.
We
are
Bladen commercial.
Yes. Yeah. So normally, the vehicles park. We're upstairs health. We've already cleared the air with health. So we're going to have our tents there. You're going to see us nicely decorated. We're going to be there. And we are going to start at about 9:30. We're going to go until 5. We're going to be there during the lunchtime, and we're going to be there after work for persons who have to work. And, I couldn't make it during the day. That's no problem.
It's actually 2 days, according to this. So
days.
February 9 and 10, 9:30 a.m. to 5.
And February 10th, 9:30 to 5 p.m.
Bladen parking lot.
Bladen parking lot, yes. Okay. And I hope I see everybody. I hope I see you guys as well. I'm sure you have land issues. Yes, come. Yes. And we're not just there by ourselves, as I say. We have our supporting agents, because if you're applying, we have forms. If you're exchanging, we have forms. You need houses, NAC will be there, because we work very closely with these agencies.
And you said the farmers can also show up.
Farmers can show up. We
for
have
land
Ministry
allocation
of,
for that.
yes, we have Ministry of Agriculture. They're going to be there. We have all of us. We have the Treasury. If you have a paying issue, you can't find a receipt, you paid something, you want question, the Treasury is going to be there. We have all of our supporting agencies there with us tomorrow. It's a land fair, first of its kind. You won't hear it again, because after this, after we fixed it, then we're going to go forward after this. So I'm inviting everybody to attend.
Awesome. It sounds really great. I encourage persons to go tomorrow, be a part of the event, and of course ask your questions.
Tomorrow and Friday.
And Friday, yes. So it's a 2-day event. So persons take the opportunity. I know a lot of persons have questions out there, and go and see the members of the Department of Sustainable Development.
And its supporting agencies.
Yes. And its supporting agencies.
Yes. Well, a big thanks to the PS, Shez Doe Tyson.
Yes.
The land fair, don't forget, February 9 to 10, 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Bladen Parking Lot. Agencies in attendance: NHC, Treasury, Land and Survey, Physical Planning, Urban Planning, Development Control and Planning Board, Sustainable Land Management Unit, and of course, I know this agriculture isn't here, but agriculture as well, right?
Agriculture as well,
Okay.
yes.
I hope that's not a shady oversight. I'm just playing.
No. What
Because-
happened is that when we did the flyer, we didn't get the confirmation yet.
Okay.
But we got
All
it
right.
yesterday after the flyer
Okay.
was put out. So not
Because-
at all.
Yeah, because you know how people say, "Oh, we've been talking about agriculture for 20 years," and so yeah.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
So
we're gonna get it right.
So
Across the board.
perception-wise, the fact that agriculture was left off will have people
No.
see they're not
Okay.
really serious about agriculture.
We are serious about agriculture. We work very well. The PS and I, we speak quite regularly. You know, we have established good relations. And the Ministry of Sustainable Development is like a parent ministry, you know. So agriculture is part of us. We are weaved into everything because we do lands. We are weaved into every other ministry. So we work closely with agriculture.
So I want to thank the Permanent Secretary of Sustainable Development, Ms. Shez Stewart Tyson, for coming here and speaking with us. Thank you so much.
It's the pleasure's
And
mine,
of course,
actually.
you are welcome at any time. I
Yes.
know the listening public, they are concerned, and
Of course,
so
and they rightly should be.
And at any opportunity, we would love to have you back,
We will
even
come
if
back.
it's an update on the process.
Yes, definitely.
Yes,
Definitely.
yes, yes.
Okay, the pleasure.
So thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay.
And so as we break, I'd like to leave a little quotation. Only a fool will lose tomorrow reaching back for yesterday. So we had a fruitful discussion today. I want to thank all of those persons who listened, who stayed in tune. A very fruitful discussion in 3 areas. And we wish that you join us tomorrow. And as we conclude today, I want to leave the quote with you again. Only a fool will lose tomorrow reaching back for yesterday.
And we want to remind our listeners. I know there's, I know, AZ, you know, there's the National Assembly sitting today.
Oh yes, yes.
So we want to apologize to the listeners. It's 2 minutes after 10 o'clock. We want to apologize to you. We had giveaways for you guys today, but we'll have to do that tomorrow. I still don't have any word as to whether, I guess we'll find out whether we'll be bringing the National Assembly sitting. Most likely we are, but yes, you have any comments on that in the meantime?
Well, I look forward to what is going to be discussed. Having had the Attorney General here yesterday, giving insight as to the way forward for the administration in terms of the legislative agenda, I look forward to see how the discussions would develop towards making changes.
Yes. So once again, I want to remind everyone about the land fair tomorrow. It's at Bladen Parking Lot. It's actually 2 days, February 9 and 10. So that's Thursday and Friday. A full work day, basically 9:30 until 5 o'clock. And sister agencies will be there along with agriculture, as the PS pointed out. You have NHC, Treasury, Land and Survey, Physical Planning, Urban Planning, Development Control, Sustainable Land Management Unit. So anything that has to do with land and any other issue, you can show up at the fair, and you have 2 days to do that. So yes, just wanted to point that out because I know there are a lot of people trying to get their hands on land for residential, commercial, and agriculture use. And we want to make sure that they have every opportunity to do so.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to be back with our Love Week giveaways tomorrow. I'm just going to find out if we're going to be bringing the National Assembly. I think we probably will, but stay tuned. AZ, have a great day.
Have a great day too, Jamsa. Thank you very much.
Okay, see you guys tomorrow morning.
Found the sound 98.9. Win FM.
Basta! We run things are on we. Basta! Basta! Living color, do it differently. Basta! Basta! Not an in charge, like for the party. Basta!